Absolutely terrifying. U.S. 30 tracks driven located south of Gary, 2 miles east of Interstate 65 on Highway U.S. 30. Spectator admission only
This is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl. It's our special Valentine Day special. Not that it'll be aired on Valentine's Day, but whoever knows when that is. But
well, last year we had a special on Valentine's Day, too.
Well, we did, actually,
Yes.
but that was something a little bit different. Last year on Valentine's Day, Tim and I did a performance with Matt Nelson in Brooklyn. I was reading the letters of Eileen Wuornos, which were provided to me by Jasmine Hurst,
Who's behind the camera as we speak.
who's my favorite photographer, videographer, and has a documentary about Eileen Wuornos. And actually, we had promoters crying.
Oh, we had people crying on that one. That tapped into some pretty heavy and dark stuff.
And Jasmine and I mean, we've done so many videos, actually. We're getting up a video channel very soon. And actually, one of the things that we're releasing quite in the coming weeks is a new form of merchandising for Retrovirus, which is a little jewelry gift box set with every Retrovirus recording on a credit card-sized USB with 7 of Jasmine's more artistic videos of Retrovirus. It's very exciting. That would be a great Valentine's gift.
Yes, it would, for all you Valentinesers out there. But, let's talk about Valentine's because, it's so commodified. It's so
Well, one of my shows on Valentine's Day was called Fuck Your Valentine.
There you go. Valentine's could be anything. And we were talking about, well, how are we going to start this thing? It's like, people put so much weight on this fucking day. Like
on every holiday.
It's ridiculous.
Well, I want to talk about the weight people put on a lot of things. But first, I want to talk about our relationship.
Well, sure.
I'd like to start there. I came into your world via We as a Walter.
Correct.
But he brought you into my world. He brought you into Retrovirus.
Correct.
And then I was
Correct.
invited to a barbecue in your backyard.
We met first because you were filming a exercise video that's still yet to be.
Oh, excuse me. That was.
I think we met actually at your show at Knitting Factory for like a split second.
Don't remember, but
the one that you did with when Al just was in the band.
Okay.
So Weasel introduced you to me. We met for a second, and then we had a few real
brief encounters,
light conversations.
But then Weasel actually insisted
that you come over
wisely, wisely that you should join Retrovirus.
Sure, but I think
first we had to barbecue.
I always say
the barbecue came first.
Was the audition.
Well, let me say that Tim Dahl has a way with meat. People have said the same thing about me, but I mean on different circumstances. It was for barbecue in your backyard.
We had a way with meat, and we had a way with meat, MEET, that night as well.
Well, okay, so again, this is what I want to discuss. Like, you were brought into my world briefly, then I was invited into your world,
yes.
And one of the things we do have in common is we both have relationships that go back for decades. Well, including yours with our very own producer, Simon Slater,
yes.
which goes back decades.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things, and it's so weird when people they filter through their close friends and family, like next. It's not my pattern. I don't think it's your pattern either.
Absolutely not.
And definitely it's not like,
well, we're lifers.
You know, a lot of motherfuckers, for whatever step they're making in their lives, they feel like they got to burn down what was before them, and it's so unnecessary.
Well, it's just self-sabotage.
Yes.
It's like, look, I mean, I'm still very good friends with some of the people during the No Wave period. Connie Berg from Mars, Mark Cunningham.
Sure.
Richard Kern, Beth B, who did my documentary. I mean, usually when I commit to a friendship, I'm kind of down for life.
Yeah.
Even Jasmine approached me on the streets of Australia just as a psychic, knowing I was there while she was making her Eileen Wuornos documentary some decades ago. Friends ever since. It's like...
Well, I've talked to you about this. You size up people
as a Sicilian,
which, you know, with Sicily being invaded forever, you have to size motherfuckers up pretty fast. So you kind of size people up pretty fast, and then you're pretty committed to your little instinctive analysis because it's not even necessarily calculated at that point.
And I'm not judging people, but in a sense, I'm just sizing them up. It's like, I mean, look, when I commit them into my coven, I am like you. We are very non-judgmental.
Well, and that can go both ways. I always say I am judgmental, but that's not a bad thing. Like if I walk out the door and there's a guy with a knife, I might be going inside. That's a judgment. So, but what I know what you mean. I'm judgmental, but I'm judging based on my own philosophy that I stand by, which is not a cruel, horrible.
Well, also, one thing I really like that you constantly, throw in people's faces about me, and I love this, is you say two things about me. And you being one of the freest people I know, you say, well, Lydia gives me complete freedom. And you also say, she's consistent, because I find you extremely consistent.
Well, thank you.
We're very consistent, and I find you one of the freest people I know. So, I mean, that I can offer you a platform for even more freedom. I mean, I feel like all my eight arms are showing at once.
Well, there you go.
Well, I want to interject with a song here, which is kind of the exact opposite. And this is not about judgment, but it's about how you can't, because in a sense, to some degree, I know. You're a pleaser in the sense that when you like somebody or you commit to them, you want to make them comfortable in whatever position or philosophy they occupy because you can go anyway. You know what I mean? You can stretch your own boundaries and you're not shocked by anything. That's good. So I could say I don't really mean you're a pleaser, but I mean you please by default by allowing and accepting when you're committed to somebody. This is the opposite side of that. This is which I had to come to realize. And we're going to go over a list of my lovers in a few minutes. Oh,
yes, I saw that
list. Is that
list.
You can't save anyone from themselves. No. So please, this is called Miserable Bastard from my spoken word album, Memory and Madness.
You can't save anyone from themselves. You will lose everything attempting to play savior. You will never, ever heal the terminally wounded. You cannot repair the damage already done by selfish parents, vicious ex-lovers, child molesters, tyrants, poverty, depression, or chemical imbalance. You can't undo psychic wounds. You can't bandage old scars. You can't kiss away ancient bruises. You can't make the fucking pain go away. You can't shout down the voices in other people's heads. You can't make them feel special. They'll never feel beautiful enough, no matter how beautiful they are to you. They'll never feel loved enough, no matter how much you fucking adore them. You'll never be able to save the battered from battling back at a world that they've grown to hate. They'll always find a new way to pick up where the bullies left off. They will in turn become bullies. They will turn you into the enemy. They will always find a new method in which to punish themselves, thereby punishing you. No matter how much you've convinced yourself that you have done everything in your power to prove your undying devotion, unfaltering commitment, unending encouragement, you will never, ever be able to save a miserable bastard from themselves. They will always find a way to spread their pain over a vast terrain, like an emotional tsunami which devastates the surrounding landscape, an ever-expanding firewall which singes everything and everyone in its wake. The longer that you love a damaged person, the more it's going to hurt you. They will mock your generosity. They will abuse your kindness. They will expect your forgiveness. They will try your fucking patience. They'll sap your energy, and eventually they'll end up killing your fucking soul. They won't be happy until you're as miserable as they are. Then their incredible self-loathing will be justified by the perpetuation of a cycle from which there's absolutely no recourse. Once you enter their free fall, it'll be nearly impossible to turn your back on them, and you'll be racked with guilt. You'll be frustrated by your own impotence. You'll be made furious for ever buying into their fucking bullshit in the first place. And of course, the more damaged they are, the more charismatic, the more brilliant, the more sexually intoxicating, the more dangerous to your own mental health.
This is the Lydia and Spin, a special Valentine's Day special with one of my good buddies, Tim Dahl.
Well, yes. And before we came here to do this, you had sent me a very nice list of former lover, relationship partners, whatever you want to call them.
Well, the title of it was My Lover's Only One Killer.
Yeah, why don't you go down that list right now?
I want to tell you what that My Lover's Only One Killer refers to. All right. I did an album called My Lover the Killer with Mark Hurtado. I had the title, I had the music, and then the act actually took place. I think I've discussed this in other podcasts, where one of my ex-lovers on his way to see me decided to actually murder his girlfriend, call the cops, shoot himself in the head, and therefore became the prophecy of the album, which I then finished. So this morning's MOURNIG poem that I sent to Tim Dahl was My Lover's Only One Killer. I'd like to read that now. And this is just kind of a rundown. And by the way, most of my relationships have lasted either 7. I've had 4 7-year-long relationships.
7?
I mean, I know people might think I'm a fickle little prick, but most of the other ones have been 2 years. But I'm just going to give you kind of a rundown of how tolerant I am.
I'll have an analysis of those durations later.
All right, let's start at the beginning. Well, after I sent you this list, you said, well, wait, what about your very first boyfriend? And yes, he was a normal, very handsome, weightlifting kind of hero that had a 65 red Mustang that I crashed into a tree, and he still liked me.
He still liked you. Well,
he liked to beat up anybody that looked at me too much, but that was
well, that's like Rochester.
That was Owen Picadillo. He was so hot.
Wait, did you have a driver's license yet?
Hell no, I was 13.
You just fucking drove it into a tree.
He was 17, I was 13. He was he saved me from my dad. Anyway, the list kind of goes like this. My lover's only one killer. A schizophrenic who painted under 7 different personalities and made faces he didn't know he was making. Well, he was also in the band Mars, that would be now deceased Sumner Crane. Oh, an alcoholic ironworker, hustler, bank robber who committed, as previously mentioned, murder, suicide, got away with robbing 3 banks on his way to see me right at the beginning of Retrovirus. A Topanga-bred dirtbag racer with a penchant for crashing repeatedly. Check out the Marty Nation podcast. A chemically imbalanced musical genius who will forever be in recovery. All right, that would be the J.G. Thirlwell podcast. 7 years on that front. The Satanist who was born addicted to heroin with a blood fetish and a crucifixion concept. Not bad. The 17-year, I had to get him out of the taste of him out of my mouth. So then it was, this legal age of consent in Louisiana is 17. 17-year-old who decided he wanted to transition after a relationship. I encouraged it. He's got very cute little nipples. A bipolar, paranoid ex-Mormon missionary graffiti artist who I brought to it then had to talk out of a New Orleans insane asylum after convincing the doctor that he was better off with me, and it was true. He was the success story. I stayed with him for 7 years. And actually, Bart Frescura has become an incredible artist who's done bronze sculptures in Oakland of civil rights leaders. One of my absolute success stories. Until.
Here we go.
Well, and at this point, he told me, when I said, all right, 7 years, it's quite enough, and this has been wonderful, and let's not blow it. And then he so quite astutely said to me, oh, Lydia, I understand it's the teenage junkie slut that has to come out in you. So I hooked up with an insecure, lovelorn, alcoholic self-mutilator who won me over with his outrageous paranoid diatribes and absolutely fucking brilliant tomes, vividly depicting his own spiral into madness, which eventually ended up with a 10-year prison sentence in Florida where he still sits and still writes. And he's more fucked up than ever. Followed by an anarchist monomaniac with a chemical addiction who liked to build bombs in his spare time, undeterred by the fact that as a teenager he had almost blown his brother's face off with a science experiment. Now, to me, all of these men were geniuses. And they were all worth it. As I liked it, and I still love them all madly, and I know the ones that are alive, still love me. And the thing is, pain, whatever pain is caused by relationships that are just too extreme, or, and usually, look, with damaged people, you have a magnetism to another damaged person, and then what you're always trying to get to is that one moment before trauma began. You always see the beautiful child before they were battered into becoming a miserable bastard. And, pain subsides. Genius is forever. This is the Lydia and Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl. Hello, Tim. Jump right in.
Well, and maybe it's too personal.
Hardly.
Were any of these heartbreaks? Speaking of Valentines. All of them?
No. I'd say the one that was, and maybe it's because literature means more to me than ironworking or music.
Okay.
I'd say that the one that's in prison now over a ridiculous charge or any number of things he could have been in prison for was the most heartbreaking because as a writer, he was just, to me, he was the next step after Henry Miller. There was no one in contemporary literature that I found that was that moved me that much. And the thing is, for the first 6 months, and this was a 2-year-long relationship, he must have been the best actor in the world because he was on such perfect behavior. Look, I had to do some psychological configuration to get the mutilation away from him. But when he was perfect, he was supremely perfect. And the problem with him is, I found this problem in the past, that's when people are self-saboteurs, they can't accept that something can just be really hot, really great, and really cool. Like they gotta find a way to fuck it up. And that was just, I've seen that pattern in other people. Like, I don't think I try to fuck things up. I think I try to allow people a platform on which to hopefully get over their bullshit and realize, look, I'm a fucking hedonist. I want pleasure in my life. I want to laugh. I want a good time. Darkness falls. I want to have my own fucking party in the disappearance zone. And that can be a very successful situation, but some people they can't fucking take a good time. They can't take it.
I've seen it with you a million times.
A million times?
Well,
what have you seen?
What I've seen is your solution, because you're into solutions. When someone's haranguing, and you're like, wait, no, there's a line A to B, and there's a straight line, and they don't want to hear it. They yeah, but, and after
it's
a while,
the emotional Tourette.
After a while, you're just like,
well, because they're driving themselves into their own hole. It's like they end up in a ditch they've spent their whole life digging, and this is really what this is heartbreaking to me because I see the beautiful child before the fucking battery, before the abuse, before the trauma, before the rejection, before the insults, before the humiliation. None of which these emotions did I ever feel, by the way. So, but again, you can't save anyone from themselves. That said, I'd like to now play a song called Won't Leave You Alone. Kind of the opposite of what I'm saying. Won't leave you alone. I know you've been warned about me. Yeah.
about me. People like to talk in tongues. They say that I'm devious. Is this all wrong? Fairy tales get all spun around. Some have a life of their own. And don't believe every word that you heard or every story that comes along. I know you will wonder about me. People like to talk in tongues. They claim that I'm devious. Is that so wrong? Fairy tales get all spun around. Lies have a life of their own. Don't believe all the myths that you heard, every rumor that comes along. I won't leave you alone. I know you've been wondering about me. People like to talk in tongues. I claim that I'm devious. Is that so wrong? Fairy tales get all spun around. Lies have a life of their own. I wanna leave you alone. I wanna leave you alone. I wanna leave you alone. About me, people like to talk in tongues. They claim that I'm devious. Is that so wrong? Is that so wrong? I can't leave you alone. I can't leave you alone.
I want to go back to that barbecue in your backyard.
Please.
So I come to the barbecue, and look, I'm whatever. I mean, look, whenever I'm invited to somebody's house, and especially like a family situation, I don't know what they think they know about me. I don't know what they know. And actually, it was kind of a confrontational night because you had Dr. David Earl.
Oh, yes.
Who, I became extremely good friends with, but he was trying to razz me a bit. You know, he's sarcastic.
He was drunk, too.
And you know, I come in sober and everybody else is drunk. It ain't going to be pretty. But, and was Simon there that night?
Oh, yeah, he was there.
Simon was there. And, you know, Simon and I could have actually had a fist fight on the first two nights we met, but then we decided we're both kind of similarly evil, or can be similarly evil cunts. Simon can cut someone's head off with his tongue. And it's not that his tongue is that big, but believe me, it's fucking sharp. And somehow after our second meeting, I believe at a Cops bar in South Brooklyn, we actually bonded rather quickly. But again, I'm the outsider coming into your family barbecue. And
I got a little tipsy that night, and I had a moment, which we can edit it out or not. But
tell me about your moment.
I kind of forgot about it, but you told me the next day.
What?
And maybe this is how I got the gig. You're like, you know what, Tim? You came up to me, and you said, and I got in your face, and I said something like, you think you're all tough, but I know you're a romantic deep down inside. I said something like that.
He was just trying to dig through that soft white underbelly into my juicy epicenter.
Oh, right. Oh,
and I knew what he meant by romantic.
Yeah,
and
I mean, not in a cheesy way.
More like Interview with a Vampire romantic. Well, it was probably the way you said it, not exactly.
Oh,
what
yeah,
you said.
I'm not capturing that moment.
But I mean, but look, what's interesting is I don't know if it was at the barbecue or if it was at that line, but very quickly we became really fucking deep friends.
Oh, yeah.
Really quickly. And now we're going back how many years? Which is short term compared to
2013.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and that was, we were both kind of in troubled times because I just had experienced the murder suicide. I was a nomad.
Yes.
We were both kind of in trials and tribulations.
I was coming out of a deep zone of kind of poverty where I had quit all my money gigs. I was doing manual labor, and I'd been planting seeds, and things kind of ended up working out. But part of that was you hiring me, and then of course we went on the road and became pretty close pretty quickly. Yeah.
Well, and it's like I felt that we could confide in each other certain things that we really didn't want other people to fucking know, like because they probably wouldn't get it.
Well, we know how people react when you tell the truth. They get a little upset.
They don't fucking look. This is the bane of my career for 42 years. I tell the fucking truth. You think it's a commodity people enjoy? Not necessarily. I mean, it's just not. And I think that, we really bonded quickly and deep because not that we were in a trauma bond situation, but we were both kind of undergoing, transitional things. I mean, at that point, I was then going to become a nomad for 4 years to work with Retrovirus. Like, I literally became a nomad, tramping from couch to couch, wherever.
So going back to, like, lovers or relationships and people that get into these little vortexes of self-doubt, self-hate, just defeatist attitudes, or whatever the fuck it is, that transition for me, where, living as a struggling artist, quote unquote, making at least one step up from there.
Yes.
And however you want to take it. That was a hard transition for me. And I could kind of relate to people who have a hard time with upward mobility, which is not money. It's a mentality.
Right.
How do I go from just fighting and pushing so hard to actually sitting there receiving love or good things.
Or money?
Any of that.
Sometimes, look, artists, it's interesting because one woman told me, like a woman I know in Ohio, who, she once told me, Lydia, do you think that in another life you took a vow of poverty? I'm like, fuck no, I did not. Just because I was born poor, just because I am poor. But once she said that to me, and I'm like, what do I look like, fucking Mother Teresa? But once she said that to me, I had to kind of reverse part of my thinking. Like, okay, when I set out to do what I do, I didn't think, I'm going to do this and make money. I'm like, I have to fucking do this no matter what the cost, no matter what the pay. So I'm going to do it. But once that kind of went into my head, I'm like, wait a minute. And this is what I've said to Weasel and many other people. And I said this to Thurwell for years, and eventually he did. I'm like, you got to just shoot higher, which doesn't mean you're shooting for normal success. But it's like, if you don't put something out there, it's not going to come back. It's like, if you don't invite, nobody's going to knock on the door. And I think people with their negative, especially impoverished artists, or they become so beaten down that what they're really putting out is negative energy, and nothing wants to come into that. And I think what people don't get about me, look, my art may be focusing on negative aspects of reality. Anybody that talks to me for 2 minutes knows what, Tim Dole?
You're actually one of the most positive persons you'll ever meet.
I could be the next Anthony Robbins.
Well, that's
Marianne Williamson.
Well, Dave Budden always said this about you.
Rodney Dangerfield.
Dave Budden always said this about you, particularly when people are like his sister came up from South Carolina, and
what's she like?
Well, she's like, well, is that Lydia? Is that Lydia? Is she good influence on the other girls and all this shit? And speaking of Dominica and Jessica Pavone, anyhow, Dave's like, well, Lydia Lunch is maybe the most positive persons I've ever met. She's writing books, she's making music, she's out there.
Occasionally slipping a 50 into his pocket.
There you go, up every morning, contributing. Talking about a dark, well, what's a dark world? Fucking being a shut-in and basically closing yourself out, because that's the world you're creating at that point. And it's literally a dark world.
And the thing is, look, I don't know why, but as you were saying, I feel a responsibility to some degree for the people I work with. It's like, look, I could just do spoken word for the rest of my life, make a lot more money, and cut all you bitches off the fucking payroll. But enough said, could be easy.
Yeah, let's do that.
But also as a geographical divinator, I have to plan where we can go. So I'm doing interviews for this Australian coming tour, and they're like, is it really the last Australian tour? I go, well, maybe with Retrovirus, but not necessarily with me and Tim, or me and Tim and Grit, or me and Tim and Weasel. But You can only do, this is my longest lasting organizational musical concept. Things, we then have done other things. I've done other things with Weasel.
So let me ask you this. So
please.
with your positivity and,
yes.
and your sharing
Mrs.
ways
Anthony Robbins.
and you're taking care of and all these things.
Oh, mother lunch.
What leads these
Big
guys
Mama lunch.
to kill themselves, get themselves locked up in jail,
Well, why haven't they
mutilate
killed-
their face?
Why haven't-
Is that their?
You're only talking about two of them.
No, but is that their? Well, fine. I've gone down the.
No, there's only one.
That's fine. I mean, but
Well, look, they were damaged before they got to me. It's like, and it's again, it's
are
like
they rebelling against you at that point? What's
okay,
going on?
Okay, let's no, look. The murderer suicider. It was 35 years between our relationship and the murder suicide. It was only at the advent that we were going to meet again.
Yes.
And after he'd gotten his life together and was like the labor leader of the San Pedro, construction workers, life was in order. Now, I don't know what meeting me again meant as a threat to his life, because he had actually turned into a success story. Did it mean to him his youth was over? Our fucking mad love in the beginning, when we were in our 17, 18, 19, which was really a supreme love of madness, drugs, and sex. So beautiful and intense. They don't make men like that anymore. As a matter of fact, he took the last man out like that, which was him. I don't really, I can't really figure out what drew him to that conclusion. And now the mutilator, look, he came to me so damaged, but he had an abatement of 6 good months. And if those were the 6 best months of his life and he couldn't handle it, he was on that downward spiral before he met me. So at least I could provide him with that. I could provide him with an abatement of his own genetic madness. His own, look, also from 3 Mile Island, so God knows what kind of contamination.
Pennsylvania.
I mean, the damage was done very early. Damage is done very early in most people's lives. What was heartbreaking about him is when he was a teenager, and he wasn't much older when I met him, he would actually write to girls and then go like on Greyhound buses to meet them. And the minute they saw him, and he was fucking gorgeous, they knew he was a fucking creep and they would just run away. And I'm like, come to me.
Okay, I got this.
Come to me. And the thing is, look, most people don't even have 6 months of paradise in their life. Really, he's the only one I've had to absolutely cut off completely. I mean, the others I'm still friends with most of them. I'm still friends. I still love them all madly.
When's he get out of prison? He has 10 years. What do you think?
Another 5
Another
years.
5,
I mean,
okay.
if he survives, who knows? And the thing is, that's the saddest to me is so incredibly talented. Gene Gregoritz. I hate to even promote him, but just one of the best contemporary writers and just somebody that cannot untwist the damage done. So with that, I'd like to hear Revolver. This is a song I did with Cypress Grove. It's a Mark Lanigan song. Now, I'd never heard the original Mark Lanigan song, but Mark Lanigan wisely said it was better than his version with Isabel Campbell. The first line, which is amazing, so after all, don't it feel like nothing? Opening line genius.
Now after all, don't it feel like nothing? Like walking away, like a mouthful of rain. At 12 o'clock, a bell starts ringing, a dog starts barking, and you're still missing something. Oh, I don't know what that was. Now I'm not one for thinking twice, but I know this much is true. The earth will turn, the pot will burn, and you are my revolver. Just waking up, some dogs start barking, a bell starts ringing, and you're still missing. And after all, don't it feel like nothing? Like walking away, like a mouthful of rain. And I'm holding on, 'cause you're my revolver. And I've dreamed of ending in a vile way.
This is the Lydia and Spin Valentine Day special with, well, my favorite Valentine, although neither of us believe in it. That would be Tim Dahl.
Well, I want to touch on this because relationships can be, there's the struggle, the diplomacy, the compromise, people coming from different worlds colliding. Let's talk about loss. Let's go back to the homicide, suicide.
I had written an album of music called My Lover the Killer. No lyrics except for one, I'm sorry, but I'm not. I had a treatment for my screenplay, which was about my life with this guy. And I had just had a story published in Jerry Stahl's Heroin Chronicles. I did heroin twice in my life, didn't like it. But about being rescued from him by Marty Nation. So, and then I'm in New York, and then I'm going to meet him 3 days later, and then this happens. And I'm at...
You arrive and you find out that happened.
I arrive, and Bob Burt tells me he's become friends with Johnny O'Kane. I'm like, why? In the meantime, I've been kind of vetting him and working on these projects. And then he said, well, Bob, send a message. I'm going to be in LA. I would love to meet him. So he writes back, Halloween, our anniversary, whatever that means. Love to see her, still love her. And this one-line haiku, the sweeping of a moment. All right, so we make a date to meet 3 days later at the sister's house of the man that rescued me from Johnny O'Kane originally. And that's when I get a call that I'm not going to see him because of the murder-suicide. So, and I have to say, it didn't really affect me that radically because, I hate to say better her than me because it wasn't fair because from all stories told or untold, there wasn't a problem. Nobody knew the darkness he had. His adult children didn't know the darkness. Needless to say, I finished the lyrics for My Lover the Killer. It then also played at the Berlin Opera House with Weasel Walter and Mark Hurtado with the opera Carmen cut in, and I finished my screenplay. But it's something, I don't know. It's affecting. It was affecting because he was touching me after death. And it was Jasmine Hurst, my videographer, photographer, psychic, who actually had to chase Johnny away from his fucking hands on my chest post-mortem.
His homicide was not finished.
Wasn't the end of the story.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'll tell you something about that later. But it wasn't the end of the story.
Please do. So let's talk about 2 and 7 years. Dave Budden, going back to him again, he's always like, you don't really know someone till at least 7 years, of course.
Look,
but 2 years is when the sexual...
Every relationship that I had for 2 years, I told them in the beginning it was going to be a 2-year-long affair because that was my trajectory of physical movement. Like, I'm going to live in this city for 2 years. I'm going to live in that city. Okay. And my philosophy then was always, and it was actually quite successful, was, look, this is going to be, let's just make it the best 2 years. Let's just have the best time we can. And just remember this, just because I'm gone or we're not together, we still have altered each other's DNA. So the love we feel, the fucking ecstasy we have, what we are sharing, you have to chemically allow it in order to alter, because once you have this kind of divine love, you can have it again. It opens the doors for greater experience. So I did a lot of, sexual healing in my day, but I meant it because I think once you open the door, you open yourself to allowing yourself to be free, that then you can have more relationships like that. And this is why, look, I don't believe in a lot of things. I don't believe in fucking marriage. I don't believe in wives, although most of my favorite lovers are married. That's their problem, not mine. I don't believe in monogamy unless it happens. I mean, I've been in relationships where I have been monogamous, but not by design, but by just, no one I wanted to fuck at the time. Well, I think that, anybody should do it. I think that if you love someone, you want them to do whatever they fucking want to do, including if they want to fuck somebody, you like that better, you should have it. That's just the way I am. I don't understand why people get into traditional relationships which imitate their fucking parents. And what are they going to end in? Divorce. So why...
Or worse.
Why proliferate this fucking institution of bullshit unless it's for a green card or money? Why get married? Why have children? Why commit to monogamy? And the thing is, you want to be monogamous, go ahead. But you want to do something on the side, look... It's nobody's fucking business what I do with my pussy, honey. I'm just saying. If you want to know, I will tell you everything. But mostly, I have failed by telling men more than what they wanted to know.
Well, let's talk about your pussy for a second.
Oh, goddamn, honey. Why just talk about it? Hey, you're the closest man to it right now.
Whoa.
Can you smell it? I know. You told me it smelled sweet one other time. I know. Just saying.
Yeah. So, people have these waves of extreme promiscuity and then dry spells. And it's not always like, I didn't want this. It's just what are these?
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yes.
Look, I was very lucky to come up when I did because in my heyday of the late 70s to say the mid 80s, it was just the hunting grounds were opened. I mean, and I was extremely promiscuous as a predator who was trying to erase my father's fucking hands off my body. So it was very easy to just walk up to any hottie on the street and go, hey, let's go. And they would. And I loved anonymous sex because it was satisfying what you needed at the moment. There was no commitment. And it's the same way that at that age, I thought prostitution was the most honest relationship possible because you need money. They need something fulfilled that they're not getting at home. It's for a certain amount of time. Well, that's when you are your own pimp. And I didn't have to do that very much. But when I did it, I always felt that my youth and beauty were supplementing a lonely man's life with something that why shouldn't they have if the price is right? So we go through that. But then, of course, I've had periods where, and I have to say, I went through a period of celibacy. I'm like, who the fuck is that living in my fucking body? 3 years of celibate? I'm like, what the fuck? Even Ron Athey goes, bitch, what's wrong with you? I'm like, you know what? I had so much good sex that if you can't show me something new, tell me something new, or look me in the fucking eye and know exactly what I want, I'm done training you fucking bitches. With that, I'd like to play the song Another Man Coming While the Bed Is Still Warm.
Okay.
Big sexy noise. This is the Lydia and Tim Valentines special. Lydia and Tim doll. Time for a drink.
I'll just pull away. No more kissing, I can't stand the taste. You promised that you love me, you lied that you changed. What you did was criminal, now admit you're ashamed. Must have said I'm leaving while the bed is still warm. Now you know how it felt when I found her in your arms. No more excuses in the middle of the night. Don't call me on the phone when you want to start a fight. Tap on the window, don't you pound on my door. I'm changing all the locks cause love don't live here anymore. You promised that you love me, you lied that you changed. What you did was criminal, now admit that you're ashamed. The tears you be crying at the end of the day, let them flow like a river, baby, wash the pain away. All those goddamn nights when you didn't come home, drinking and carousing, hoping you were gonna score. Wasting too much of my time, I don't plan to be alone. Got another man coming while the bed is still warm. now just pull away. No more kissing, I can't stand the taste. You promised that you love me, you lied that you changed. What you did was criminal, now admit that you're ashamed. No more excuses in the middle of the night. Don't call me on the phone when you wanna start a fight. Don't tap on my window, don't you pound on my door. I'm changing all the lives cause love don't live here anymore. All those goddamn nights when you didn't come home, drinking and carousing, hoping you were gonna score. Wasting too much of my time, I don't plan to be alone. Got another man coming while the bed is still warm. Another man coming while the bed is still warm. Another man coming while the bed is still warm. Another man coming while the bed is still warm. I got another man coming while the bed is still warm. While the bed is still warm, I got another man coming while the bed is still warm.
This is the Lydia and Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl. It's our Valentine's Day special. Tim.
Yes. So one thing I want to touch on, because people put so much expectation on Valentine's Day, I just want to touch on expectation in general. With relationships, because it's actually a projection onto this other person that you supposedly love or like.
And again, back to that, love should be freedom, not a prison sentence, not an entrapment. And I guess, with me, it's like, first of all, it's one of the reasons I had multiple lovers, at whether the men wanted to know about it or not, is because I never felt it was right to put my expectations or my needs, which could be far more devious, could be darker, could just be something I didn't want to bring into a relationship. So I always felt I was being really kind and generous by keeping some of those things out of the home. It's like, I want to do some things that I don't necessarily want to expose you to, and actually I'm protecting you. So I don't have expectations with people because I allow. And this is, again, back to tolerance. It's like, I don't expect, and one of the things I always say is, I don't assume. I don't assume anything. It's like, I accept. If I don't like it, I step out. I will encourage, but I'm not sitting here assuming or expecting anything. I don't know.
I mean, I've seen it, I've heard it, I've experienced it, where it's a kind of a trap. Like, oh, we don't need to do anything for Valentine's Day.
Oh, then they're pissed off.
And yeah, exactly. It's like, well,
are you
a straight shooter?
I'm going to take it. I'm going to take something. I'm going to take it to the side from here. I'm going to say, what's far more sexy or romantic is when you just get a gift for no reason. It could be like, it could be the eye tooth of a dog under your pillow unexpectedly. It could be, How
about a thank you?
Yes, exactly. How about like lipstick mark on the mirror? How about just even a simple text like, "You're the hottest bitch I ever met, no contest." Yeah, I got that recently. I won't say from who. I mean, it could be anything that's small. I mean, it's the thought. And yeah, it's the thought. But why? Again, it's it's this traditional bullshit. Look, every day is my birthday. Doesn't mean I do expect gifts every day. And you know what the gift I give myself is? Myself. It's like, myself is my gift to myself. If people knew how to treat themselves like their own lovers, they wouldn't be so disappointed in everybody else. They wouldn't have such high expectations. You set up an expectation. Look, I had to look up, literally, I'm not shitting you, I had to look up the word disappointment in the dictionary a few years ago because
I remember that.
I had never felt disappointed. Because, I'm a fembot. And I'm like, oh, disappointment is you expect something and you don't get it. How dumb am I? I mean, like, I really felt disappointed for the first time not that long ago. And I'm like, how is that possible?
Well, I think people...
How is that possible?
People are into this concept of quote unquote progress. And what the fuck does that even really mean?
Well, fine. You know what they're mainly doing, though, is what I don't like is projection. People project their bullshit on you. They project their emotions on you. They assume, and I'm guilty of that too. Like, I always assume people are as cool as I am about shit. Like, I assume people are just gonna ride with stuff. I assume that people aren't gonna be, so upset over what could be an average, everyday, once a year peccadillo that happens. Like, I've had Sharia law put upon me for something so redundant and ridiculous that tried to erase everything that came before it until I realized exactly what it was about. It wasn't about that stupid act, which I apologize for and admit it was stupid. It was about some deeper lying root problem that person had with me about something completely unrelated. And that was just the catalyst for them to project this bullshit, this evil upon me due to their own embarrassment or shame or insecurity. It was a very good lesson for me because, look, I'm not saying everyone I know is perfect, but if they do something I don't fucking like, I pretty much accept and get over it. Because you know what? First of all, you're not alive to fucking please me. All right? It's like, I don't expect every action you do. And first of all, I'm a lot more, tolerant than most people. And it's like, people have strange little fucking stupid things, bullshit lies, trauma, trouble, controversy that occasionally pops up. The thing is, I'm not going to throw my family aside for that. And when it happens within the family, and we've noticed this, and look, I've been very lucky because for the most part, my coven, well, especially the women, the witches, I mean, it must just be the best women in the world. We never have any issues like this. There is no jealousy. There is no pettiness. There's no insecurity. There's no shame or humiliation. And it's like nobody would ever, if they did something that somebody thought was bad or wrong, they would apologize immediately and it'd be like, okay, so what? So I think that's, something that people become so fucking precious. And it's like my piece, calm down. Calm down. Why is everybody always telling me to fucking calm down? Like, oh, I'm too aggressive. I'm too vulgar. I'm too violent. Back up, fucking boogaloo. Because, let's face it, I will admit it, and I'm sorry if it fucking offended you. Get over yourself.
So here's the bold question. What do you think of the word love?
I love it, honey, because let's face it, your love don't pay my fucking rent, or is what I like to say. Look, we do our concerts and there'll always be one person calling it, I love you. I'm like, you know what? Love yourself because you will never love me as much as I love myself. I believe in love. Love, I mean, what is it? You know what I believe in? I believe in unconditional acceptance, devout acceptance to people, tolerance, and to not projecting, and just to recognize genius and beauty, especially beauty when you see it. Why the fuck, if you don't, you're denying yourself. Oh yeah, I am love. Oh, la 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 la. With that, I'd like to play a song by myself and Sylvia Black from our forthcoming album called Ain't Talking About Love. Because no, basically I'm talking about lust, but this is a, need I say, you'd never recognize it if I didn't admit it, a Van Halen song.
Yeah, you may have all you want now, honey, but I got something you need. Oh yeah, ain't talking about love. My love is rotten to the core. Ain't talking about love, just like I told you before. Yeah, you're semi-good looking and on the streets again. You better find yourself a
This is the Lydia and Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl. It's our Valentine's Day special. Now, Tim, I was just saying, I feel we have a really unique relationship. Like, I can't imagine ever having a problem with you. Can you imagine me causing a problem for you?
Well, you haven't yet, so I
mean,
can't
can
imagine.
I mean, other than shitting on my forehead or me shitting on your forehead, there's really nothing that you could do that I can think
If
of.
I ask for it,
I might give you a little golden nugget. Look, I might give you a little golden nugget when you least expect it. But I just can't imagine, and I guess it's just because, when we first came together to work or to confide, because we were both in kind of unusual situations at the time, we were both going through a lot of stuff. And, it's not like there was nobody else for us to talk to. But really, there was no one else for us to talk to on those levels about those things because we didn't want to share that with anybody else. And I think the beauty of working with you is, and now it's been
7 years.
And I'm not getting itchy, honey. It ain't gonna happen.
All right.
Hey, look, just because it's 7 years doesn't mean I got the itch. If I got the itch, you're the one to scratch it. By the way, I just want to talk about Tim Dahl's thumb for a minute.
Here we go.
When I'm in extreme pain, for some reason, Timmy Thumb can go right with his thumb to my fucking pain source and trigger an endorphin release, which is shocking. Now, sometimes he goes into pain for 2 weeks after, but I just want to say, that's how close I am with Tim Dahl.
Touring in a band, the amount of diplomacy and tolerance is if you can't handle a small apartment with someone, try being in a van with someone for
and let's face it,
5 weeks.
For the most part, Retrovirus has had very little controversy. I mean, I'd say one or two examples in the whole time. No names need to be named, whatever. And, there's tension, but you know what? Look, we are solutionists.
Well, it's easier for me, and it's actually more beneficial. I mean, some people like to get trapped in the vortex of conflict and problems.
And we live to be on the road. We want to be on the road.
And the thing also, there's also environmental factors. I mean,
you get exhausted. Sometimes you're sick.
You're eating restaurant food every meal of the day, and it can be brutal. And so, just like a cat having to change an apartment, claws you even if it loves you.
But we've never had. We have faced some ridiculous. Touring, there can be many near disasters. But yes. I'm always confident that we somehow will find a way out of it, and we have, because we live to do what we do.
Absolutely.
We live to love.
And guess what?
It ain't talking about love, talking about us. Yes, sir.
We actually do it. And that's the other thing about your own reality. I know this is much easier said than done, and people are all coming from very different experiences, so I don't want to be too overly simple with this. But there really is a half empty, half full glass thing where you can look at fucking basically anything from any fucking angle. And when I hear someone fucking, especially
cry baby blues,
especially in all the new language, like the word appropriation.
Please.
I always spin it back at them. I go, stop appropriating suffering. Half the fucking world doesn't have drinking water to get through fucking wars. Like, you're upset because your boyfriend or girlfriend didn't come home with flowers on Valentine's Day.
Well, and this is part of the problem with the internet web hole, is that excuse me. I've been able to talk about universal traumas and problems. And again, my anger is on a massive scale. It's never on a personal level because it's not about me. I'm dealing with universal subjects. You got to get out of your own fucking asshole. And you got to realize the bigger picture. You have to be fucking tolerant. You have to understand it's not just about you. And, why are people so fucking precious? That's what I don't get. It's like, you know what? I've never felt insulted. Can you imagine the amount of fucking press I've had? People hating me who don't fucking know me. Blah, 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 blah. You know what? I've never felt insulted once in my life, but I had to learn that a simple sentence out of my mouth can crush someone's fucking reality because I can be brutal and ruthless and I'm far funny and more sarcastic than most people. Never my fucking goal. I'm paid to be that way. In my private time, I had to learn to pull that back because I don't want to be ruthless to my friends. To me, it's like, well, that wouldn't bother me because nothing pretty much bothers me.
No, and it seems like clockwork on the road, once a night or once every other night. There's someone that shows up, and if you were not on the road with us, you might even assume this person's a plant because they get themselves so worked up, wound up, drunk, whatever. They kind of step out of their functional reality and go into this kind of like bending over backwards, like kick me kind of zone where they run their mouth to you and you like, hold on, let's address this.
Well, and usually very tall.
The word throat punch kind of basically they're down for the count pretty quickly.
Well, look, I mean, people come to both of us sometimes with desires that nobody else can fill. I do admit that, but I'm not out there looking.
No, you're not. You're
ever.
not. That's what
I'm
I'm
not
saying.
sitting here looking for somebody to slap in the face, and certainly I never throat punch anybody because I don't want to fucking kill them. But I mean, people do come to us with expectations of desires that nobody, and I accept that challenge. But when it's just somebody that feels like they're a dog that needs to be kicked, well, you're not really gonna fucking go there. With that said, I'd like to play an unreleased song now for your listening pleasure on the Lydia and Spin Valentine's Day special with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl. This is my favorite New York band outside of Retrovirus, Art Gray Noise Quintet, and it's a song I wrote. Well, they asked me to, and here we go. It's called Ridiculous.
You skinny boys think you're such a shit. Watch you show me something that I ain't too good. Not much fun when you're feeling down drunk. You tried to hit the bouncer, but you missed when you ducked. Feeling the blues, bang from the bar. You got another silly skag hanging off of your arm. Strutting around, who you trying to impress? Strike a stupid pose, you're ridiculous. Sorry, but I'm not if I'm here again. Got no goddamn clue just how mean I can get. Your looks are faded, your life is a wreck. The only sex you're getting when you're texting some bitch. Karen Cole, romance, you're hilarious. Talking some good shit, all your friends have gone deaf. Think I'm hiding something I'm about to confess. Screw it, all your friends, cause you're ridiculous. Is hilarious. Play your broken record. Your friends have gone deaf. You can hide something. About to confess. I can't fucking stand you. You're ridiculous.
This has been the Lydia and Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl, speaking about all things we love, sex and relationships. That was Ridiculous, my upcoming track with the Art Gray Noise Quintet. What more can we say, Tim Dahl? Anything that hasn't been discussed?
Well, we cover a lot of stuff. I'm sure people... Who cares what other people? We actually covered a lot.
Actually, we'll be back for the Easter Easter resurrection.
We can hit
I'd
all
like to
these
talk
things.
about, the fact that there's very few images that are sexier than a man crucified on a cross with a fucking heart on under a loincloth. Join us again for the Easter special. Lydia and Spin, thank you very much.